Do they have conjugal visits at that prison?
Nah. So I guess again, a lot of shit happened in the '90s. In the AZ prisons. I guess there were conjugal visits, and then someone attempted to cut a woman's head off, and so that was that.
Damn.
Yeah, that was that. Um, yeah, I wasn't around for that, but that was that. And I mean, I want it like prison. It's a lot safer now. It's a lot safer now for a lot of various reasons, but just like not when I was in there. For the first.
What was the prisoner guard relationship? I mean, I know at the one spot I was at, the guards were like damn near a gang. You know what I mean? They was up in
Right.
there, and the warden was like the shot caller. You know what I mean? So, what was
Yeah.
it like in there where you were at? Was it like the police were pretty much running their own shit? You know what I mean? And the inmates did their own thing, or how was that?
So it was different everywhere. Particularly in a spot called Yuma. There's a place out here. It's very close to the border. Um, just like majority of the officers there are Mexican, and some of them don't even speak English. So their allegiance, was always towards the Mexican inmates, um, and that caused a lot of issues. But overall, it was kind of there was a lot of fear. I think with the guards, there was a lot of fear with the guards. There was always they were always trying different things to make us more docile, right? So like they took the weights away. They took all the weights away. They stopped giving us, creatine and like whey protein, things like that. Getting too big. And there's various other things, but it was always targeted towards the blacks, right? Like we are like 13% of the population in the state, right? And also very small population in prison too. And I remember there used to be this rule where, especially on 4 yards, on the closed custody yards, where the guards didn't want any grouping up, no groups at all, no groups at all, and their way of of like classifying a group was four or more people, no more four or more people, right? Um, but if you look over here to like on the rec field to where the white boys are at, they're playing cards over here. It's a four-man card game. You know what I mean? Everything's cool. You look over here. There's a bunch of cats over here doing burpees. There's 30 of these motherfuckers, right? Everything's cool. But whenever any issue or any rule that it seemed to affect the black inmates, it was always 100%. It was always okay. Yeah, we said this. This applies to you specifically. So it was for a long time. It was constant. It was constant friction between black inmates specifically and guards because it was just blatant racism. It was like
Yeah,
we can't play a spades game. You know what I mean? We can't play a spades game. But these motherfuckers can
yeah.
do this, and it's that persisted for a long time. That persisted for a long time. It was mostly on the higher yards, but also I also have to say, me personally, I haven't had personally the majority of my interactions with like guards and even like police officers on the streets. I haven't had that. I haven't had these horrible interactions. You know what I mean? I have had horrible interactions, definitely, but it's mostly been um, kind of level, but not so much on the higher yards, not so much on the higher yards. Um, there was a lot of racism too from a lot of the guards. There was one guard, his name is Lieutenant Slade. I still remember this nigga's name. He was cool as hell. He was a cool ass older white dude. I think he was lieutenant. Cool ass older white dude. He used to give everybody cigarettes. He was cool. But this motherfucker had the warbird, the warbird. It's Aryan Brotherhood with the
Oh
eagle.
yeah, Yeah, like the that the Nazis used.
Right, yeah. He had
Yep.
this tattooed on his shit, right? And there was a situation one time in the walls. It was between the Paisas and the white boys, and it didn't pop off, but it was gonna pop off. Um, I had a job as a rec porter, so I was in like this little hut, giving out basketballs and shit like that. I always stayed with a cool job because I had a mouthpiece. I always stayed with a cool job, so I was out there on the yard before they brought any of the other inmates, right? So it's just me and my shit, getting ready, for whatever, the whatever. And I seen this motherfucker, Lieutenant Slade. I seen him out in the yard. I'm like, what's this dude doing? And I don't. I guess he didn't know I saw him. I guess he didn't know I saw him. But he was like kicking like holes in the field with like his boots, right? Like digging holes with his boots, and he was taking like knives out of this little the satchel that he had, and he was
Wow.
sticking them in there, right? He was sticking them in there, and
Wow.
so the way that they brought the inmates, they bring everyone in like a big line, right? And it was just all the white boys were in the line first. So all the white boys are in the line first, and they're coming to me like, "Hey, can I get a basketball?" So yeah, this and that. So I'm doing my job. I'm looking in the line, looking for, and I didn't know it was between them and the Pisces at that time. I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. So I'm doing my shit. I'm looking in the line, looking for black people, right? It's like, damn, I need to give the heads up. You know what I mean? And finally I start to see some brothers pull up. I was like, hey, this nigga's digging fucking knives in the fucking in the field. And my cousin, my cousin who'd been down a long time, he's like, oh yeah, Slade's gonna have those white boys' backs no matter what. But it's not between us. And that's what my cousin told me. And that was kind of
Mm.
that was kind of regular. But again, that was higher yard type shit. There's not that much room to do something as like egregious like that as an officer on like a 3 yard. I never made it below a 3, a regular custody yard. But yeah, I'm sure in a second a crazy fucking encounter with a cop will hit me, will come to mind. But for the most part, the issues weren't really with the cops. It was with us, you know, mostly it's mostly with us, you know, just gang shit, and I didn't even bang, just gang shit. That's really what most of the issues was.
So was it a lot of most of the situations that you encounter was among the blacks themselves? It wasn't really outside the black car, or it was things that were more racial. I mean, or
Yeah,
people like you know having to check like we got to check the car and stuff like that.
yeah. So the thing with like the black inmates was, so for whatever reason there wasn't like this impetus to really check paperwork. There wasn't
Mm.
really this. Did you experience that at all? Was there? I know everyone in the feds is not
Uh,
vetted, right?
well, in the feds, the people got resources, so somebody have their girl, they'll pull up your
Right,
case.
right,
And
right, right.
so there's dudes who will have their girl pull up the case, and then, they'll be like, "Oh, okay, where you from? Blah blah blah. Okay, okay." And then somebody would have their girl get online, go to the court, look up your stuff. And I've seen dudes who were like all good, walking the yard. Oh man, swole, blah blah blah, hitting the waist. And once somebody found something, or somebody come from another yard and was like, "Oh man, dude was like dirty," or he checked
Mhm.
in and blah blah, dude, instantly. And I
Yeah,
was on level, I was at USPs, and then I went to a medium. But yeah, dude, at USP, they didn't play around. Like immediately, the guy would be removed immediately, or he'd check himself in.
yeah. Yeah, that happened for sure. That happened for sure. It just wasn't that often with us. It was usually, with like the whites or the Mexicans, right? It just wasn't that often with us. So
Even in the feds, like, dude, the white boys, paperwork they usually don't play. Like and I talked to a lot of guards, and I used to ask them, like, who would you say would have their shit. He's like, dude, the white boys, paperwork on site, and then he said like the Mexicans, they found out like your paperwork weren't right, you
Hmm.
immediately were gone.
So out here, without a doubt, it's the natives.
Oh wow.
It's the natives without a doubt. Um, around 2000, around like 2010, and I don't know all the details. I don't know all the details, in the workings, but there was some inner turmoil between like tribes, and like there, and it affected everybody. It affected everybody because I mean, like if you got to get at somebody and like the yard just opens and your homie's waiting on a pack, you wait, you don't want to get the yard closed, you know what I mean? You don't want to get the yard closed, you don't want to fuck up the motion, you don't want to do this and that. The natives where I was at, here in Arizona, it was 1,000% on site. It was 1,000% on site, um, like in front of anybody. Didn't matter, and we knew what the fuck was up. When I was in the walls, when I was in the walls, it's a max custody. So when they take you out to rec like 2 or 3 times a week, you're in a cage outside, and the cage is I don't know, probably like 7 feet, 7 feet across, and probably like 8 feet high, and it's like a chain link kind of like fence, right? And they're just a row. There's a long row of them, and it's hot as fuck. It's hot as fuck. Um, they're like double. They're double like chain link fences, right? And they leave you out there for 2 hours. Um, Before the officers really got like wind of what the issue was between the natives, they would fuck up and leave two natives like close together, like in adjoining cages, and they would spend the whole 2 hours just trying to kick through and break through. And as soon as they got through the other side, it was just like knives stabbing each other. That would happen
So
all.
literally, there was a fence separating them, and they would try to get through the fence at each other.
No, they would. Yeah, they would just kick through. It took forever to kick through. It took like 2 hours to kick through these chain link fences, and
Wow.
that was, that was like a daily, not daily, but that happened often. That happened
Wow.
often. But yeah, it was the natives. The natives were always the most active, 100%.
Wow. Wow.
There was one
Who would
time
you say was the most organized?
the Mexicans, the Mexicans were the most organized, and it's and they had a lot of reason to not be because there were so many like factions within their card. There's so many factions in their card. The only like group internal group that I've seen them just like 100% not fuck with is Norteños from Cali. That was the only thing that they're just like no, for whatever. And I don't know all the issues with that. I saved a dude's life one time, uh, at a later on in my career in prison. Um, this is when around 9 years in, I made like a switch. Around 9 years in, I made a switch, and I was just done. I was just done with all this shit. I had accumulated enough time, enough scars. I've met enough people, did enough time. You know what I mean? It was in a sense I earned a little bit of a peace, but I also just like stopped caring. I stopped being a part of like the fuck shit. I stopped being a part of it. So shit still happened, but like not nearly as often. So like towards the end of my time, I was on like some peaceful shit, you know, theoretically, and I remember this older Mexican dude being brought to my hut, and for some reason I don't remember what it was, but we just started talking, and he seemed cool, whatever. And he took his shirt off, and he had a big ass 14 on his chest. And I was like, bro, like I know we don't know each other, but this might not be the spot for you. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, bro, come on, this might not be the spot for you. And it wasn't the spot for him. when I say saved his life, he still got fucked up, but I think he got like a head start. I'm responsible for him getting a head start, I think, out of there.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, that's. I would say there were definitely the more organized, but there were also kind of like the biggest ops that we had throughout my time, because we did business with them the most. It was drug business, so we were dealing with different factions of the Mexican card often. And because we're dealing with them often, it was always like, okay, now we're beefing with them. Don't talk to them now. No business with them. You know what I mean? And then a couple months later, be like, okay, now we're doing business with them. Type shit. But yeah, we were definitely the